Monday, 1st of September 2025. In today's show, we review Saturday's what felt like a run-of-the-mill game, yet big derby game against Bolton Wanderers. We're once again flat to deceive in all departments, just about scraped a point to stop the rot. We also discuss our deadline dealings today and assess the squad for the months ahead. I'm John Aspinall, and this is Match Action Show. Blackpool 1, Bolton Wanderers 1, with a bit of electricity. Tradition. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Seasiders podcast on a Monday. Apologies for the delay for a week. I have been on holiday for a week in your favourite destination, Nick, the Lakes. But we're back on the pod this evening and got some good news on the transfer market, or have we?
Yes. We'll come on to talk about it. I'd be probably happier if we were talking about signing a left back, a striker, and maybe a left
goalkeeper
as well. No, but yeah, we'll come on to that.
That was the voice of someone who was adamant that it was Sam Gallagher we had signed vis-a-vis the Oasis teaser on the official club site. So, listeners, viewers, don't listen to Tim about anything. Welcome, Tim.
No. Yeah, no. My info said it was one of the two, but then there was this thing that Bowler was going to Reading. So anyway, that obviously was a load of waffle. So let's just see what he can do. But how many wingers can you throw on a pitch in any one game? Maybe the question to be asked.
That's why shows like this exist. Tedious shows like this exist with lots of waffle beforehand. Many apologies for all the people that don't like the waffle. There is a big off button if you want to click it. So fucking do one now if you're not interested. Welcome back, Tom, anyway.
Yeah.
No waffle from you, please. First appearance of the season, so no waffling. Just pure stats and detail. That's why you're here.
That's what I'm here for, yeah. I mean, yeah, Josh Bowler's signed, hasn't he? So plenty to be excited about. It's split in opinion, it seems, at the moment, and I'm sure we'll come on to it, but it's got to be seen as an exciting signing, hasn't it? So looking forward rather than backwards at the recent results, I think, tonight.
Yeah. Welcome, everybody, in the comments. I'm just looking through a few now. It's a bit of a mixed bag on that. It's all scattergun policy, isn't it? Chuck Wingers at it and hope for the best. Seems to be a general feeling out there. And B's going, I wish it was Sam Gallagher. That's what we needed. That's what I've said in our green room, along with the left back. But we'll address this topic shortly, and we'll go on to the Bolton game to start with. Blackpool 1, Bolton 1. We lined up as follows for this game. Peacock Farrell, Imre starting as right back. Good to see. Heckway, Casey at the back. Coulson left back in the 4-4-2. Honeyman as a right winger. Brown and Morgan in the middle. Hansen left wing. Bloxham up front, and Taylor, who wants to start on this. Views when this dropped at its new time, 75 odd minutes before the game.
Want me to go? Yeah, I was pleased to see Imre starting. I'd hoped that Horsfield was going to, but I can sort of understand if he's just coming back from injury that he didn't want to bring him in. I was still looking. I was still looking at the team. Obviously, we weren't quite sure how we were going to play it. I was hoping we were going to play it more 4-3-3 because I still think that's what we're best suited to with the players that we've got available at the moment. But as we saw it, although I think it does change as the game goes on, but Honeyman is stuck out in a wider position, which we saw at Exeter that really doesn't work that well, and he's a lot better when he's in the middle, pulling the strings. So overall, I was reasonably happy with the team that was put out. I'm glad there was, two changes from the previous game that I think we're seriously warranted. And it was good to see Brown playing where he should be doing as well, rather than the old adage of the square peg in the round hole.
Nick, as Clapstick said on paper, what the hell are we putting Honeyman out there for? I tend to agree with that. Is this lineup a case of shoehorning players into a system rather than picking a system to suit the players?
I think so, yeah. You know, he's nailed his colours to the mast on 4-4-2, hasn't he, really? And obviously Bowe had picked up an injury. So Honeyman's probably our best player. But you're not necessarily getting the best out of him, asking him to play out wide. He isn't the type of player who's going to get his head down and beat a man for pace, you know, that you'd want ideally from a right winger. So it is a bit disjointed, and he will tend to, like it says there, you know, he didn't play as an out-and-out winger, and he will kind of sort of drift in a little bit because he's not one to hug the touchline. That's not his game. So, I mean, as we'll come on to talk about, we've got plenty of wingers now, so he's going to be able to play the 4-4-2. It'll just be interesting to see what he does with Honeyman, Brown, and Morgan when he's doing that. But other than that, yeah, it's kind of what we thought might happen. CJ out and Evans out, which, like Tim says, I think are two things that needed to happen.
Tom, over to you. Mark's put there a comment home. We have a seriously solid defence now that Emre is back. Only if you pick the correct personnel. One of them was on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that strikes me there is that 11 on paper is pretty strong, isn't it? I think we've unfortunately been hampered, should I say, by the bad start we've had. And if you think back to Stevenage for that first 25 minutes, we looked quite good on the opening day. And since then, we've looked shaky, short of confidence, like we've never played together before, which is the truth because we've now got 13 signings, which is half a squad or more than that. So it's a case, I've not seen the full game on Saturday, but it sounds like we were focusing on keeping them out at one end rather than creating bundles of chances. So the hope is that Bruce is going to get it right, as every manager of a certain age demographic seems to do, and Bruce is one of them. Rule number one is you keep them out at one end, and if you can't lose, you draw. And we just need to build confidence again, don't we? So I'd say that side is going to get stronger, and that it looks like a pretty decent 11. And you add in a couple of options from today, so suddenly there's a lot to be positive about. But unfortunately, it didn't quite turn into a strong performance, did it, in front of the home fans? We're not quite where we want to be. But you know, we've touched on their options across the pitch. You've got three pretty top centre midfielders at this level. You've got 6 options out wide now. You've got a few different striking options there. And then at defence, you've got Horsfall to come back in. So, yeah, there is areas of weakness, which I'm sure we'll come on to. But generally, 8 or 9 out of the 11 positions, you've got 1 or 2 to choose from that are very good, if not top players at this level now. So, yeah, you've got to be positive, I think. Unfortunately, we're not quite turning that into performances on the pitch at the moment.
Same as Tom mentioned, he hasn't seen all the game. He didn't see the game live, just in highlights. Didn't miss much, did he?
No, I've just watched the highlights back, and as I said in the green room before we started, it looks a massively better game watching the highlights back than actually watching it in the flesh, because obviously I can't remember the exact stat, but I think they had something like 79% possession in the first half.
It's on the screen, Tim.
It's just right come up. I know. Yeah, sorry. I was too busy in my thoughts. But yeah, so 78% possession. It had a feeling almost in some respect like we're playing Huddersfield again with 10 men, and whilst we had 11 on the pitch, it sometimes felt like Bolton had an extra man. And listen, and we've spoken repeatedly, haven't we, about possession is not everything, and it isn't. But after we didn't have enough, did we? We didn't have the ball enough, and we seemed to spend an inordinate amount of time just chasing around. And it looked like Bolton, standard-wise, were a division or more ahead of us, and it was like one of those cup games where you're trying to keep up with the big boys. Thankfully, they were very toothless up front, but it was very one-sided in that first half, and and you know, as we're going to go on to speak about, you know, we were able to make the most of what we had, but it still felt very much back to the wall. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like watching us play like that. I'll be honest.
Nick, as Tim said there, it was almost like we were the away side in this game. You expect Blackpool Bolton, big derby game for all the players and fans to be up with it. So I want to touch on the atmosphere before we go into the actual game itself. It was very flat for me, and it just didn't have the feel of a Blackpool Bolton game in the build-up, on the walk to the ground, going in the ground. It was just quite flat, and it was odd. You put your finger on it.
Well, I think it's probably just, you know, and normally you start really looking forward to the game during the week, and with it being Bolton, a bit of extra edge. But I picked Jim up and I kind of got in the car and said, it does feel a bit flat. He said, yeah, you know, we're normally buzzing for this because after Preston, it's, you know, it's probably the biggest game. And it, you know, we had a couple in Chickers beforehand and then walked up the car park, and that was really quiet. And said it doesn't feel like a Blackpool Bolton game. It did feel very flat. And then once the game starts, you then need something, you know, to spark on the pitch, don't you, to keep the atmosphere going. And like you've said, it did feel very much like if we'd have put that performance in away from home, you'd probably go, I'm happy with that because you're playing like the away side. But at home, you want to try and be on the front foot a little bit more and creating a bit more. And obviously, you know, we've gone ahead, but they had so much of the ball. All right, they didn't do a lot with it. I think if they'd have had a finisher, we could have been in trouble. I don't mind us having low possession. We've seen it before where we've had 30% possession but created 3 really good chances. But when you've got that low possession and you're not really doing much with it and you're giving the ball away quite a lot and then going long, it becomes a little bit of a tough watch. I mean, we were better, but it was a bit of a low bar starting point, wasn't it, for us to be improving from? And yeah, you normally, you know, you want a bit of blood and thunder in a game like that, don't you? And to be the team that are pressing and putting them on the back foot, but it was a little bit the other way around, albeit, you know, we've gone ahead against the run of play.
Just to rewind ever so slightly, just before going on about the game, Tim, there was the BST plaque unveiling at the Armfield club before the game to commemorate the fan group, all the fan groups struggles against the Oystons. Just talk us through that. I've just seen Lee's video of the event, a bit of it. John Armfield there, a little good event, but the highlight for me was the makeshift unveiling curtain that someone had produced. I suggest you go and look at the video to see what I mean. Hilarious, very Phoenix Nights.
Yeah, it was. There was no velvet curtain that being drawn back. It was a bit of cardboard. Yeah, for those who don't know, it was the Armfield club secured a second blue plaque because they already have one for being the home of Jaguar cars when they were first formed. So I think it's one of the few buildings actually to have two. But this one was given as in recognition for the fans and the fan groups who helped secure the club from the tentacles of the Oystons. And it wasn't just BST, was it, Tim? It was all fans group.
Yeah.
That was, I think that's what, you know, it was very much dedicated to everybody. And I think it was, I don't know how it was funded, but everybody was involved. And BBC Northwest News were down there, so there's a Northwest News report. If you go back and have a look at that, I think it's on the thread. And it was actually bearing in mind it was 1:00. I didn't know how many people would turn up, but it was very well attended. Lots of faces, Afro Man and people like that from the protest years, which it was good to see everybody back together. And it's just a nice little touch. So when you walk towards the entrance to the Armfield Club now, everybody who's listening and watching, you know, do take a minute just to have a look at the little plaque, and it's a nice little acknowledgement. Started with the first CISA meeting, and for those who were there in 2013,
that's where I met you, I think, for the first time, Tim, at that little CISA meeting. One man and his dog there.
And I met Kev there as well, who became the secretary, who was very instrumental early on. We sat next to each other in the meeting, and you know, and it was you know, from little acorns and all that, and you know, as Christine said, the fact the football regulator exists is in no small part down to what we did, and then what testimony we gave to the parliamentary committee that ultimately recommended it be brought in. So on all sorts of levels, we've done a huge amount, Blackpool fans, and it's just a nice little acknowledgement, not from Blackpool fans, but from others. In this case, the Blackpool Civic Trust, to acknowledge that. So it was a great start to the day, and I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I made the effort to go down, and I'm glad so many other people made the effort to go down as well.
Good stuff. Right, back to the game, Nick. I think just before we scored, we had one scare, didn't we? Peacock Farrell, full length dive save, decent save. It was good to get his confidence up, and he got good support from the north, didn't he? I think people were making a point of chanting his name after the previous match.
Previously, yeah, it was a decent save, probably a nice height for him. But you know, things like that will help him grow his confidence. And I thought, you know, he did look steadier than he had been in previous games. So hopefully that will continue. But yeah, they had quite a lot of the ball up to the point where we scored, really, which, you know, it was against the run of play.
Tom, you can come in on the goal. Probably a good one to watch on TV because it's down the other end from where we are. Was it against the run of play?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the goal itself, you'll have to tell me if it was against the run of play.
I'd probably say it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a solo goal, really, isn't it? He's taking it on. He sort of reminded me of Shane Lavery, the way he carried the ball up the field in a positive way, I would say. The early days of Shane Lavery, where he gets the ball, he holds off the defender. He's quite slight, isn't he? But he can protect the ball, and then he's had a bit of a pot shot, and it's gone in off the keeper's back, off the post. But you can't take the first goal away from him. It's good to get him off the mark. And yeah, hopefully many more goals to come. But yeah, it's a positive sign that he's just taking it on. He's sort of created the chance for himself, hasn't he, rather than the team creating something. And the one criticism you'd have of Taylor so far is that he's not had that many chances, and he seems to be on his own up front. He's not tall enough to lead the attack by himself, and Bloxham's not really a striker, is he? So he's kind of struggled for service. But yeah, it's good to have a striker who seems to be able to carry the ball and make something happen for himself in the final third. So yeah, it's quite an encouraging strike for him there.
Weird atmosphere, Tim, when it went in north. It was one of those, what's happened there? And then all of a sudden you see the south celebrating and you celebrate yourself. As Tom's mentioned, it's unfortunate it's been given us an own goal. Some sports, ice hockey and hockey, I think if it hits, the goals are credited to the last person attacker who hits the ball. If it comes
it is on the Seasiders podcast prediction lead as well, apparently, isn't it? That's that we've adopted the ice hockey model. Thankfully, because I need the points.
I accredited to that because there's no option for own goal either. Might have had something to do with that.
But obviously, it does hit the post. It does come back and hit the keeper. But I think it's very churlish to take it away from the striker in that scenario. I think it is mentioned in the chat, but it was nice to see the way we broke up their attack to start that move off. You know, Brown was brought in as the sort of Didier Deschamps breaker up of play, and Makelele or whatever. And he just did that, didn't he? He stole him, broke it up, passes it to Imre, releases Taylor, and then Taylor does a wonderful run and holds off the defence really well, I thought, as well, you know, and does what a striker does. You know, if you get your shot off, you've got a chance of scoring, haven't you? And that's what he did. And we found ourselves 1-0 up. But it was a bit weird because, again, it's at the other end, and because it hits the post and then comes back out and comes off the keeper, you're not, for that split second, you're not quite sure what's happening. But it was it was great, and you know, I thought the atmosphere picked up a bit after that point, and I thought that was probably our best spell. I think it wasn't long after that that Morgan had his shot from the free kick that was just wide, And
Evans opened at that point as well, didn't they? And I was thinking with that free kick, it was a distance out, but that can be one of those fizzers. Get it low, and it can be a nightmare for keepers. Just wide.
Yeah. So that was probably there wasn't any extended period of play where I thought we were on the front foot, but probably for that 5 minutes or so around the goal, that was probably as good as it got for us on Saturday, and yeah, it looked like we could go on and maybe assert ourselves into the game, but it's Bolton come back, and as the possession stats show, they end up dominating possession. Then I think for the rest of the half,
quite a lot of injury time as well. And it was at 5-6 minutes go up. I think it was quite well managed, as Tim said there. They were probing, but without really creating any clear-cut chances.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the stats there, our XG is obviously really low. Theirs was only 0.58, 8 shots, but only 1 on target. So I did think we managed it quite well. It's not a great spectacle as a home fan, is it, when you kind of sat there just watching the other team with a lot of possession. But the fact that, they've only had the 1 shot on target shows that we did, do our job in terms of restricting them and keeping them out, so to speak. It's not necessarily a plan that I want to see week in, week out for home game for the rest of the season, because I think if you come up against a team, like I say, you've got a decent striker, it could be a different story. So there's signs of improvements there. I would say it's probably a building block, and that's as much as it is at this point. We need to do a bit more on creativity, which hopefully today's signings will help with.
I also want to see the keeper probably communicate more with his defence. There was a couple of, I think there was one where he stretched, and to be fair, he stretched and got his fingertips to it, but he's way out of position. That could have been damaging to us. And then there was a lack of communication, I think it was between him and Brown at one point as well, where their guy ends up stealing in and just hooking it hooks over the bar. But again, there was a couple of scenarios there where you're thinking there's uncertainty in the defence which could have led to an equaliser or even a Bolton taking the lead. So when you're in the north, I want to hear the keeper shouting his head off. I don't know anybody else hears him, but I don't. Or if he's not, most certainly not of the Maxwell ilk, is he, where you could hear him bellowing from start to finish of the game. So. And that's not a pop at him for his performance particularly. It's just an observation where I think they all need to communicate better.
Okay. Enough about that first half. The better. Not really much else happened onto the second half. Again, Nick, not really a lot happening. Just Bolton keeping the ball, probing us. First thing of any interest happened really was a substitution of Tom Bloxham on 56 minutes, and it appears to be a pattern this with Bloxham. I don't think he was happy to be subbed off, but it was probably the right call. He just seemed to flag around this period in the game. Ashley Fletcher coming on.
He does. Yeah, sort of gets to around an hour and looks a bit done, doesn't he? Looks a bit knackered. I don't know. He never quite looked as sharp as he was from when he first signed, post injury. I'm not saying it's anything he's still carrying from that, because it's quite a while ago now, isn't it? But I do wonder whether he's got, that 90 minutes in him. Is he going to get fitter, or whether we'll just be sort of using him for an hour and then he'll be coming off. But yeah, it just doesn't. I don't know. Didn't look quite.
Do you remember the last game, Nick? When Bloxham came off about 60 minutes, when I was saying that we should have really left him on up front. But when Bruce was speaking after the match, it was almost saying like they knew before the start of the game he only had 60 minutes in him, which suggests that there is, whether it's injury, whether it's fitness, or whether it's a combination of the two, or maybe it's just in his physiology, I don't know, that he only can really perform at the level that they want him to for an hour. But most certainly there seems to be a mindset that he's there for 60 minutes and that's it. And this a bit short of that on this occasion. Yeah. So yeah, he's something's not right.
You can say that about the whole squad at the moment, though, can't you? None of them seem to be fit. All of our new signings don't seem to have had a pre-season in them. You've got Aboué from Palace, who doesn't seem to be able to do half an hour. You've got Bloxham, who can only do 60. Dale Taylor, I don't think, has had much of a pre-season. I'm not sure how much of a pre-season the two lads who've signed today have. Banks has been on the bench, I think, hasn't he, a little bit? So hopefully he's had a pre-season. But Bowler, I don't expect has played many minutes. I think overall there's got to be concern about what on earth we've been doing for pre-season. You saw all those clips on Tangerine TV of them all training in Spain, and then we've picked up a few injuries. I don't know if that's linked, but we seem well off the pace compared to the rest of the division. And I think you do have to ask questions about what our preparation's been like over the summer period, because we didn't have much of a to play for at the back end of last season. The season was really over in sort of March or April at the very latest. I know we've had a big turnover of players, but that's where I'll be asking questions a little bit in terms of what the club's been doing, and we'll come on to the transfers and this scattergun approach that people have been talking about. But surely that's not good enough in terms of the season we've had, and that's got to be linked to how fit we are and how prepared we are, and the fact that we haven't played together with a very, it's either a formation. We've played two different formations already this season with throwing players in where we don't seem to have a plan and something to execute. So I think that's where I'll be asking questions of Bruce at the moment in terms of what we've been seeing so far in these games.
It's a valid point, Tom, and it's a point that people are making all across social media and message boards, I believe. So, yeah, let's hope after 10 games these problems are behind us. There were problems behind us, Tim, on 61 minutes when the Bolton goal came. Similar to Blackpool's goals, it was a series of deflections and just presented itself to his name, Mason Burstow. Couldn't miss, really. It was an unfortunate goal, the way it happened.
It was very fortuitous. I mean, they sort of deserved it, didn't they? But because they were very much in the ascendancy. I think Gale had the shot, hadn't he? And I think it hit Casey, hit Burstow, and then hit Casey again, and landed straight at Burstow's feet. I mean, you almost couldn't make it up. And obviously he can't miss from there, and there can't be any criticism of the defence generally. Really, it was just one of those things. It was a speculative shot, wasn't really hit with that much power, I didn't think. But it's sometimes shit happens, doesn't it? And it did, and it just if it'd been the other way around, we'd have probably skied it over the bar. But as you can't expect anybody to miss from 5 yards out with just the keeper to beat, and he puts it away. But for me, it had been coming. I wasn't surprised when they equalised, it was still game on for me at that point. I think it could have gone either way, but I think it wasn't long afterwards actually that Taylor got put through, didn't he, by CJ, the much maligned CJ, who put him through, and he got a shot off, and I think Honeyman then got in his way, didn't it? Got in Taylor's way with the follow up, and probably stopped him from having another bite at the cherry.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, and I was actually glad to see CJ coming on 67 minutes, Tim, to replace the very ineffective Emil.
Well, he had a very strange performance, Hansen, didn't he? I mean, I was quite pleased to see Hansen play, but he played a little bit like that at Exeter, I thought, as well. It was almost like he didn't want to be on the pitch and was almost like looking for, please take me off. I don't want to be here. So yeah, it's probably, I think somebody said, I can't remember, it was Mitch or somebody. So it was like one of the strangest performances he's ever seen in a Blackpool shirt, and I don't think we're going to see much of him moving. Well, particularly after our two signings today, I do wonder whether. I know Bison said that the lad's coming from San Paulo isn't a winger, but I think he's an attacking midfielder, but who can also play on the wing. So, which is where my reference came from. But I can't see with somebody putting in a performance like that he's going to get himself on the pitch very much.
Hansen looked a bit scared, Nick. I'd run him back to Brum if he plays like that again.
Yeah, he just didn't seem to want to take his man on, did he? There's a couple of times over on the far side, where in front of the Bolton fans, where he just kind of put the ball out of play and his head dropped. And I think with attacking players, and particularly wingers, you know, it can be about confidence. And when you've got it and you're flying and you've done something good, then things go your way. But when it's not happening, you know, I think his head dropped, and it was just not going to happen for him. And I think, you know, he's not really done anything there that's going to make Bruce think he's going to be starting games. We've got 2 weeks now, haven't we, for all of them? But I think with who we've brought in, that you would probably expect to see him on the bench.
Yeah, I think so. Then we had one more chance really for the rest of the game. Fell to Ash Fletcher, leant back, blazed it over. But I thought Ash Fletcher had a decent game, cameo appearance when he came, and he linked the play up quite well, and he did make a difference. I think he was a bit more effective coming off the bench than he was starting, definitely in the last game or so.
He's one of those players that's always going to create a bit of a conundrum for the manager, and he's going to be a bit Marmite with the fans. What you tend to find with Fletcher is he is generally involved in the moves that lead to goals, but with his physique and you're expecting more of him for certain attributes, like his ability to hold and control the ball, which doesn't often happen. So I think that's where people get frustrated with him. I mean, if we get the Fletcher who played the second half of last season going, then he's going to be a massive attribute to the team. But he's a work in progress again this season. Like a lot of the squad, and that goes back to Tom's comments. I think you look at the fitness levels, and you look at the cohesion between players, and there's a lot missing at the moment, and we shouldn't be going into September trying to decide how we're going to play and what type of formation and what type of approach we're going to take to the games, because it seems very scattergun, to use Tom's expression, not just a recruitment, but the way we're playing. There doesn't seem to be a system. There doesn't seem to be a pattern of play other than, give it to Peacock Farrell and let him launch it up the pitch and see whether it drops heads or tails.
And he more often than not launches it off the pitch as well. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah,
constantly.
Who did that? It was Grimshaw at one point, wasn't it? He used to go a bit go a bit off centre. You think you've got all that pitch to aim for, and then they end up going. They're obviously trying to be clever and play it right down the line, but more often than not, they overhit it, or it goes too far to the right or too far to the left, and ends up just conceding a throw-in. I
mean, we joke, but look at the.
It was Tyra, by the way. I was thinking it was Grimshaw. It was Tyra. Thanks for correction, big dog.
I think if you look at the accurate passes statistic, 65%. All right, they had a lot of the ball, but when we've got the ball, we're not moving it around the pitch very accurately. It's quite poor if you look at that.
Yeah, I don't think that's anywhere near good enough. I don't know what the average would expect it to be, but I mean, Bolton, I think, is reasonably high, but I would suggest that we should be north of 75%, because that's suggesting statistically that one out of three passes is going to the opposition. And when you factor in the fact, your defensive play where you're just doing short passes and keeping possession, it probably means when you're going into the attacking half of the pitch that you're conceding possession more than 50% of the time, maybe 60, 70% of the time, I suspect.
Yeah. So we got away with one as well, Nick, towards the end. Balls in the back of the net for Bolton. That horrible sinking feeling in our stomachs. The record of not losing to them since 1977 was about to go up in smoke. But thankfully, the linesman's flag was there to save us.
It was, yeah. And it was quite a while before a lot of the Bolton fans realised it had been put up. They were celebrating for quite a while, weren't they? But yeah, on another day that maybe gets given, doesn't it? So thankfully, I mean, straight away Peacock Farrell ran out and he was pointing that, you know, he was right in front of him, and he was. So thankfully it got disallowed, because I couldn't really see us coming back into it at that point if it had been given. So take it. Maybe, you know, these bits of luck can make a difference, and like I say, maybe that just gives us something to build on in for the next game in a few weeks' time.
A great training ground goal, wasn't it, for them? To be fair, it was. If it was the other way around, you'd be gutted that a goal like that isn't. But to me, he was miles off, and he was in line of sight. So I think it is the correct decision. I know you know, you listen to, you know, you've seen the social media with Bolton, they're bleating like billy goats, aren't they? But at the end of the day, for me, I could 100% see why the referee and the linesman, I think in particular, who spotted it, gave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely got one away with one there. Just this is a worrying stat I've just seen. No clean sheet in 12 consecutive games now. That really is something that needs to be addressed, particularly when we're a bit shot shy up front as well. So it's worrying times in all departments for me.
And the worst, and still the worst defence in League One. You know, we've conceded, we've shipped more goals than anybody else in the division. So, you know, it's not good, is it?
I've just been looking while we were talking there at the last 4 starts to a season since we stayed up in the Championship. So the season we got relegated from the Championship and the 3 in League One, we've had less than a point a game for the first opening 6 or 7 games for 4 years running now. So I'd say that's a trend that needs looking into. There's mitigating factors to that. One was in the Championship, if you remember, under Appleton when we beat Reading on the opening day, and then we got a point at Burnley, if people remember. A thrill of a game, and that felt like a decent start to the season, albeit ended in relegation. The following year, we won against somebody at home on the opening day. I was just looking at it when Callum Connolly scored that goal, if you remember, and then we drew 3 in a row and lost. Obviously, last season, Critchley went after 2 games. We'd lost them both, and then we drew the following 2. And then this year, we've lost 4 of the opening 6. So that's 4 times in a row when we've been on the back foot. And I know we always... We like that run at the end of the season and coming from the back, and that's the Blackpool way. But it would be nice for once, be prepared going into a season confident. I know that we had more confidence than normal this year with the bookies and everybody seeming to tip us for promotion, which is the first time I can remember that happening in 30 years of watching us. But yeah, I'd say that's something that we really need to get a grip of as a club, because we always seem to be on the back foot going into the season. We always seem to do the business late. We don't seem to have a clear plan from the off, and we obviously have changed managers a couple of times in that period as well. So big questions to be asked, in my opinion, on that side of things. And albeit you'd have to say this transfer window has been positive and there's been so much gone on that's right, but there's something underlying there where the club's just not prepared for the start of a season at the right level that it needs to be.
Absolutely, Tom. And for me, it's like having a weight on your back, you know, like a handicapped horse a very good horse in a race. It's having a handicap, so it's going to stop you almost getting automatic promotion from the off, and it means your only target is the playoffs. Obviously, we all love the playoffs, but for once, we want a season where we go up automatically, and it does need looking at.
I think the flip is, someone's mentioned in the comments there that, you know, we've also had shocking starts to a season and ended up getting promotion. But I do.
It's always via the playoffs, Nick, though, isn't it? It's always.
It's 40 years since we went up automatically.
If we do that, I don't care. But there's a long way to go, isn't there? But there are things that certainly need to be addressed. Definitely, you know, like I said, we can't just go the way we have been doing, where we play like the away side at home. You know, we need to be a bit more attacking and have a bit more of a plan, and it not be quite so disjointed. I mean, the business is done now, isn't it? So we've got to wait till January before we're getting anybody else. You know, we've got a couple to come back from injury, which I think certainly you would probably expect Horsfall to come in. I know he didn't have the best start, but I think he was injured, wasn't he? He was playing with an injury in that first game of the season. So hopefully he comes back fit and he recaptures the form that he had when he was at Stockport. I think something to mention from Saturday was that Imre was one real positive for me. I thought he had a very good game. So hopefully he can make that position his own. So at least on that side, we're looking pretty solid. I think the other side of the pitch is a concern at left back. We have got a left back in Zach Ashworth, but I think Bruce has made it pretty clear that he's behind Hayden Coulson in the pecking order, who I think if we're playing a 5 is fine, but we're not, are we? We're playing a 4. So, that problem's not going to go away. So there's still things of concern, definitely.
Just before we move on to player ratings, this is a thing of concern. Have a look at that, the momentum graph.
For those who are listening rather than watching, there's a hell of a lot of white on there and virtually no momentum in the first half and only one very noticeable short period in the second half. I don't think I've ever seen one like that.
I think I have.
Look at when we scored our goals. What is this? The full game. So we scored. We didn't even get the tiny tangerine. Spike when we scored.
I think the other one. That's the tiny spike, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little dot.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah. No, you're right, Tom. Yeah. That's obviously
it's like Bolton were on the attack when we scored or something. So yeah, I've never seen that before.
Well, we did. Well, we broke from their attack. It was. That's what I go back to. It was Brown broke their attack up, and we just one touch, and it was through to Taylor, and he ran through and scored. So that's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right, let's rate the players and move on. Do this quickly. Tim and Nick, we'll just do this. Me and you two, because you're at the game. Peacock Farrelton.
6.
Imre, Nick. Got to be up there for the man of the match for me.
Yeah, I will give him an 8.
Heckway 7.2 on the FOTMOB rating. Not a score I'd be giving out. Tim?
No. 5+.
Ollie Casey, Nick?
7. I thought, just going back to Heckway, I thought he was, again, I know it's been a low bar. I thought he was better than he had been. He only had a couple of moments. There was that one in the second half where he started trying to dribble it out, and he reminded me of Marv. When he was trying to play football, and you're like, no, and you almost know what's coming. But I thought he was slightly better. But yeah, I think Casey was pretty solid, and like Bryson said, he's probably in for a shout of man of the match.
Is a low bar on it to get over for Heckway. Anyway, Hayden Coulson, Tim, left back. Did okay?
Yeah, I did all right. 6+.
Into the midfield. Let's go left to right. George Honeyman, Nick, played out of position, but busy as ever.
Yeah, I'll give him a 7+. Like I say, he's probably one of the first names on the team sheet, and it will be one of our best players over the course of the season, I expect. But I'd like to see him probably a bit more central.
Jordan Brown, Tim, in his natural habitat.
Yeah, I thought he did okay. Nothing outstanding, but he was he won the ball and was instrumental in the goal. 7.
Someone I sit next to described him as Neil Bishop.
He looks a bit like him,
actually. And he looks like him as well in style of play and looks. Yeah, couldn't disagree. Albie Morgan, Nick, tidy and as effective as ever, driving the team forward.
Yeah, I'll give him a 7.
Right, Tim, Emil Hansen. I think Mike Blackpool said -25. Is that on the fielding play rating scale?
I don't think we'd go into negatives, do we? It was a bizarre performance. I'm not going to 4.
I think you're being generous.
I think I am, and I don't want to be too negative, but it wasn't great.
Okay, Nicholas, Tom Bloxham. Has he flattered deceive again?
A little bit, yeah. 6.
Generous again. Tim, wrap this up with Dale Taylor.
Yeah, I thought we saw a bit of what he could do. I think finally, I think we're concerned with the previous couple of games was that the games were a little bit passing him by, and it wasn't necessarily his fault. But I think he's shown when he's put through with that ball, that's what a striker can do. Bit of lucky not with, but for Honeyman, they might have done something in the second half as well. 7+.
Just quickly as well on Taylor, he played for quite a while with a knock as well. You saw as soon as it happened, he was struggling, but he tried to run it off, didn't he? And kept going for quite a while afterwards. So I think as long as he recovers from that and gets fitter, I think he's going to get better and better for us. Bison's has mentioned the comments there as well. Bloxham isn't he's not a striker. He is definitely better out wide on the wing. Again, it'll be interesting to see with signings today what that means for blocks going forward if we're sticking with 4-4-2.
Okay, just round this up. Tim, man of the match and manager rating for Steve Bruce for this away home lacklustre derby performance.
I think I'm with Bison's really. I think Casey probably just sneaks it from Taylor. And I 6 for the manager.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Imre, who I think got it on the day from the sponsors. But I'd agree it was close between probably him and Casey, and then Morgan. But yeah, I'm going to go with Imre. I think he had a very good game.
Right, let's move on to the hot topic of the day, which is the transfer window, which is now closed. Let's get us back on that. Summer signings. So, Tom, tell us about Scott Banks.
You give me the tricky one. I don't know too much about.
Then you can do Bowler as well.
What I would say about Banks, I obviously know a few Bradford fans from where I currently live, and Bradford seem to speak very highly of him, albeit from League Two. I think he scored a few goals for him a couple of years ago for Bradford, and obviously earned the move to Germany. So, seems to be highly rated and deserving of a chance at League One level. I believe we were in for him a couple of years ago, and we just missed out on him on a permanent deal at the time. So clearly, someone who's been on the radar for the club. Potentially David Downs when he first came in, maybe, unless it was a previous regime. But yeah, it's an attacking midfield option. I think we're turning our we've got options in the squad in terms of formation now. I think we've got a couple of options of players playing off the striker. Obviously, Bloxham can support there, but you've also got Honeyman and now Banks who can play in behind. Bowler was strangely used in that role for Appleton as well, and Big Mick. So I think we've got a couple of options where we don't play out and out wingers, and we've got 6 to choose from. We've kind of got a few different forward options, and it's a bit more fluid, hopefully. And then Bowler, I'm excited by it. I think if you'd have this, I don't know how this will go down, but personally, from selling Apter and getting Bowler back on a permanent transfer, I think that's decent business. I can understand people are frustrated. He's one of our own, and you don't want to lose your best players, but I think getting good money for Apter, who was keen to leave, and reinvesting in players like getting Bowler back on a permanent, getting some big signings in as well from the money that's been spent across the squad with Taylor, a couple of the centre halves, and Jordan Brown. Yes, it's very early to sort of judge them all at the moment, but I think generally you can see what the club's trying to do, and the money's gone into the right areas without even mentioning Ennis as well. So yeah, I like the Bowler one. I think it's going to get fans off the seats, and if you think the style of play, particularly last season when it was actually working and fluid, and we had Carey coming in off the left and on counter attack. If you think of Bowler in those positions where we're defending, and then we can spring out of the defence into attack, and he can carry the ball, 50, 60 yards up the field and create something. It's the best place for him to play. And the final thing I would say on Bowler is he's mentioned the fans and it being like nowhere else. We know that's absolutely correct, don't we? The Blackpool fans have more patience and more, willingness for people to try stuff than anybody else. I don't know if that's who we are just as people and the entertainment history that we've had at Blackpool, but those players seem to do well with a club like ourselves, where they don't get away with stuff when they go to Luton and these other tin pot clubs in the Championship. I won't mention anywhere else where he's played recently, but he doesn't get the same freedom as he does in front of Bloomfield Road. So I'm confident that he's going to play a few games. He might take a little bit to get going, but we're going to back him again and again, and everyone will be up on the feet cheering him on. And once he does it a couple of times, he'll go from strength to strength, and I think he'll be a really good signing. So, he's had 150 games in the Championship. He's never dropped down to League One before, and I think he's going to do really well in League One.
Tim, thoughts on the Josh Bowler signing?
I did say I think it came across as a little bit scattergun, because I think our focus really needed to be elsewhere. I mean, Baygot, it was interesting to see was available to be acquired today, and I've loved us to get him, because I think that would have really strengthened our back line. But Tom's right. I can't really think of a player in the last 5 or 6 years who's excited Blackpool fans as much as Bowler has done when he's on song. So, listen, he'll either work or it won't. And if he, if he's able to do what he can do in the Championship in League One, he's going to run amok. And let's hope that we're going to see the Bowler, particularly from his first spell at the club, perhaps more than the second spell, where he was, clearly lacking a bit of confidence and things weren't quite going right for him. But he's a bums off seat player, isn't he? 100%.
Nick, someone's put in the comments, Reading fans gutted as they really thought they had him. Great to have him back. It's always great to have get one over Reading for once. We always seem to usurp us in deals, particularly Charlie Adam as well. So it's great to have Josh Bowler back. And I think there's someone else put in the comments, imagine Amre and Josh Bowler on the right wing. They'll be doing some damage, I would have thought.
You would certainly hope so. And you mentioned in the comments that, Bowler version 1, that's the one we want. And I think you've got to take into account when it was version 2, who he was playing for and what he was being asked to do, which was Mad Mick asking him to track back and get stuck in, played in all sorts of wonderful positions. So, with Josh Bowler, what you're going to get, you one way you've got to play him. And at this level, if he's fit, if we get him fit, then, he could certainly tear it up. I'd echo what Tim says. I think there was probably other priority positions where, had we filled those as well, I think I'd be really, really happy. Left back particularly, and maybe a bit of a unit up front to give us another option there. So I do still think we're a little bit short, but I think to get him, what did we sell him for? 4 million, and we get him back on a free. It's, from a business point of view, it's good business.
He's only 26 as well. I just thought he was older than that. It's a great buy from that perspective. He's got sell-on value.
Said in the comments before, and if we'd have signed, another player who'd gone for 4 million quid 18 months ago and was now signing for us, we'd all be absolutely buzzing with it. So, I just wish we had a couple more in, but we'll see. He's got 2 weeks now to work on the training ground to get his fitness. Because, like you say, I don't think he's probably had too much of a pre-season. I think he's played the odd game, but not certainly not for their first team. So if his confidence is good, his fitness is up there, then he could potentially tear it up. And that's one of the things we've been missing. We mentioned it, I think, on the last pod, where with Actor and Carey going, we're missing somebody who can carry the ball, who can get us up the field. And he will do that. We don't want to be having these long balls, and Ennis to come back as well. He'll add another dimension as well, It doesn't concern me that we don't press much. Ennis will do that up front. But I think with Bowler and hopefully this other lad, we've got an outlet. It can make all the difference. When it's not quite clicking, you can see when it's not quite clicking. And we're doing the same thing over and over again. And you look at some of the away games thinking, this, we could be playing for another 5 hours and we wouldn't get anything. I think with those two on the pitch, it will hopefully make a massive difference. And then you've not got Honeyman out wide as well, and he can be central, which again will make a massive difference and probably help whoever he's alongside, whether it's Morgan or Brown. It will hopefully make a massive difference.
Just on the naysayers with Bowler as well, and people who say that when he came back he wasn't up to it. Just you've got to remember that we were in the Championship then, and I know he's had a couple of spells at other clubs in the Championship, Luton in particular last season. He's dropping down to League One. We're playing Northampton next. Can you imagine Josh Bowler playing against Northampton? He's gonna. I know maybe it's a little bit too soon for him, and maybe he'll be on the bench or whatever it might be. But some of the teams that we play this year, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you can see there is a clear difference between the Championship and League One. And if we can get him anywhere near what he was, it doesn't even have to be at that level. It's just somewhere close, and he'll do. He's capable of the unpredictable, and he'll score goals for us this season. I'm absolutely sure of it.
Good stuff. Just before we go, then, obviously the summer transfer window has closed now. I thought it'd be a useful exercise just to go through our business. So if it's been a hit, a miss, or you're still unsure. So let's start with Michael Heckway. Tim, hit or miss? 3-year deal.
Miss.
Tim, sorry, Nick.
I think so far you'd have to say it's a miss, but we remain hopeful that he's got Championship pedigree, hasn't he? So I'm not writing anybody off just yet.
Tom.
I mean, you can't say it's a hit, can you? So it's got to be a miss. But yeah, hopefully it comes good when the team learn to play together a little bit better. But yeah, we'll say miss for now.
Niall Ennis, Tim.
Probably our best business of the summer.
Yeah.
I think he's been superb. Very unfortunate with the sending off, and we've missed him.
Hit, 100%.
Tom.
Yeah, he'll score 20 goals this season. Hit.
Can't really judge this one, can we? Unless you went to AFC File, Franco Ravizoli. Tim. So let's just skip it.
He must be gutted that he's not been given a chance to play.
He must be absolute shite.
What was Bruce think of him?
Being binned off by MK Dons when they get relegated to League Two says it all for me. So we'll abstain on that one, I think. Jordan Brown, Nick. 4-year deal, permanent. For me, the jury's out.
Yeah, I think he's still on his feet, but we've got to remember he's played some of that at right back, which, he's not a right back. I think week in, week out in the centre of the park, he's got good players around him. I think he'll be fine.
And I thought he had a great game at right back when we played Huddersfield as well. So I think he's I'm going to say hit for him.
So I'm
just.
Yeah, I'd rather have him in the team than Evans, and I'd rather have him in than any of the other midfielders we've got, except Morgan. So for me, that's a hit because it improves our best 11.
Danny Imre, Tim, only seen him for one game, and absolute hit for me after seeing that performance.
Yeah, I think he's a proper attacking fullback. A little bit, you can see when Gabriel was at his best when we were in the Championship. You're seeing, I think, a similar type of player who can defend reasonably well, but more importantly, contribute when we go forward as well. So he looks a hit to me based on one game.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can only go off that, can't you? And I'd say he was man of the match for me. So hit so far.
Yeah, I agree. Right, this one's going to be controversial. Tom, Bradley, Bailey Peacock Farrell. Hit or miss?
It's a miss at the moment. Like Tim said earlier, I think we all appreciate a keeper who could command his box vocally and physically, which he's not been able to do. I think we've conceded the most goals in the league joint, and that comes down to the keeper. There are questions. We haven't played together as a back five, so you have to hold, have some patience around that and all learn to play together. But I think if you've got a shaky keeper, all of a sudden you've got a shaky back four. So I think he's actually caused some of the performances we've seen at the back line as well with Casey and Ihekwe and the wing backs as well. So, yeah, that's the most concerning transfer business we've done so far, I think. And he's a couple of mistakes away from getting dropped, isn't he? If not deserving of that already. So, yeah, he really needs to... we need to see better from him. What I would say is he does seem, in the last couple of games, from the bits I've seen, he seems to have come... He's not as bad as he. He seems to have had a couple of decent saves and not be letting any in that are, clearly mistakes. So hopefully he's familiarising and getting more confidence, and hopefully steadily he'll show that he is a good keeper at this level.
Just in his, I think it's hard to add from what Tom said. I think he's summed that up pretty well. I think the only thing we could add to that is we had similar reservations about Tyra, didn't we?
I was just thinking that, it was great minds, John. I was just thinking Tyra started poorly and improved, but Tyra was a very young keeper, first time playing in the Football League. Peacock Farrell has a pedigree of playing at a higher level than we're at. So there is. Listen, I'm worried because I can't hear him. And that suggests either whether that's because he's lacking confidence or whether it's because he doesn't talk to his defence. I don't know, and maybe I'm deaf. But if I can't hear him from row L right behind the goal when he's probably 25 yards from me, how the hell can his defence hear him when they're 25 yards in front of him?
So is it hit or miss?
Miss.
I would say as well, you have to factor in that we could have got Tyra back, and I know they were concerned about waiting, and he couldn't take that risk. And as soon as he became available, we had to get Peacock Farrell in. But I feel for Tyra a little bit. I know there's no sentiment in the game anymore, but he's got to sit at Everton and play in the reserves all season now, and he was really deserving of a shot at arguably a Championship club, really, never mind League One. And the clubs he's been linked with this year, it was really us or nothing. So I feel for Tyra, and I hope that he can get some experience out somewhere. One day, hopefully, we might see him back as well.
Presumably, as the loan window closed as well, or is that open for another week? It used to be open for a little bit longer, wasn't it?
I don't think it is now, is it?
No, is it not? Okay.
Just unattached players now.
I'd have been buzzing if we'd got Tyra back. I really would, and that's a testament to the way I think he had a real rapport with the fans as well, and he clearly loved his time with us. I mean, from the tidbits Andy Grice heard, obviously with being informed, was that he wanted a Championship club, and that's what was stalling it. So I don't know. I don't know whether you can necessarily blame the club, who have to, at the end of the day, make sure that they've got the right people in the position. I think the problem is, I don't think we have. So, we can't comment too much on number two. Well, Bruce says I haven't got a number two. I want two keepers who are going to vie for the positions, but he's the way he's picked his teams up to now doesn't suggest that's the case, does it?
I think don't be surprised if something doesn't happen in January. And I know it's only deadline day now, but that's something that could happen if Peacock Farrell doesn't step up and show that he's the man in the next 3 months. That could be somewhere the club can look, because he's only on loan. You can quickly terminate a loan if you can get an agreement with his parent club and go and get Tyra. So that could happen if we feel like we need to do it in January, I think.
Listen to this. Players cannot sign players on loan after the transfer window closes after the 1st September, 7 p.m, as it's aligned with the Premier League. However, there is one exception. EFL clubs can sign a goalkeeper on an emergency loan outside the window if all their professional goalkeepers are unavailable due to injury, suspension, or international duty. So for anyone who's seen Escape to Victory, Steve Bruce or whoever's the club captain, you know what to do.
Well, as we know, Lewis Hedge once infamously broke his finger, didn't he? We ended up with Joe Hart in that at Huddersfield. So whether that finger was broken by on purpose or not will remain in the annals of the club history. But yeah, we'll see what happens this time.
Anyway, Nick, hit or miss? You're shaking your head.
Well, it's got to be a miss, hasn't it, so far? But like I said before, let's not write everybody off. I think there have been signs of improvement, although it was a low bar. And maybe we can get a bit of a settled defence. Horsfall comes in. we've got Imre at right back now, so that might help as well, and it has a knock-on effect.
Oh, we all want him to do well, Nick. You know, there's no,
I'm not saying you
I
don't.
want it. It's obviously we're just dealing with what we think of them as at today's date, and just there's only one answer, isn't there? Unfortunately,
Malcolm Aboué. We ain't seen much of him, but what I've seen, I've been impressed. But it's been very fleeting, his appearances.
it's very frustrating that he got himself injured just when he would have. I mean, I think Bruce has stuck by CJ far too much when he's had a Aboué who he could have played a little bit more, and that for me has been incredibly frustrating because we know all about what CJ can and can't do, and we don't. And we're sat here, aren't we, going into September without having a real handle on what Aboué can do, and his pedigree suggests that he should be a step up and should be an improvement.
He's a permanent signing as well, Tim. So for me, he's got to play in front of Hansen. Develop your own players, don't you? For me, I think that Hansen can go back. I don't think he can do that, but he's got to be on the well down the pecking order anyway. Nick, any thoughts on Aboué? I think it's hard to say hit or miss, really.
It is. I can't really say. I've not seen enough to form it. We've not seen enough of him to say either way, really.
Look, one thing I would add is I went to Mansfield and he came on the pitch. We were 2-0 down at the time, and he came on and then he was looking round and he didn't seem to know which position he was playing in and who was on the wing and who was in the middle, and he was looking back at the technical area asking questions. That's a massive concern on Bruce, of course, but it's also a concern on the player. Why he seems a little bit.
Bryson says he's dopey.
Yeah, there you go. So it doesn't seem the sharpest to have managed to get as far as the other opposite end of the pitch to the technical area to then say, "Oh, what position am I playing?" So yeah, the jury's out on that one. Let's say for now.
Okay. Finally, Dale Taylor, Tim.
I would say he's a hit. I think he comes having had a good season at Wigan. They got their player of the season. Obviously, he missed. He wasn't fit. Well, he wasn't able to play, was he, at Exeter because of a balls up, and obviously he's had to wait for his chance. And unfortunately, he's played a couple of games where we've been dreadful, and I don't think we're dreadful because of him. I think we're dreadful in midfield and defence, and the ball never got anywhere near him. So I think he's a great addition. I think we saw on Saturday what he can do when he's given the opportunity and when he's given space to run into. And I'm expecting him maybe not to get the 20 goals that we hope to get off Ennis, but I'm expecting him to chip in with double figures.
Bison's Billy Waite, son of Dave, one of our patrons. He's a Blackpool lad, born and bred. Great story, signed from Morecambe. Bags of potential, apparently. So I think this lad will be a hit, and it'll be great to see another homegrown player come through the system. Let's hope he gets a chance.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see him much in the first team this year. We might see him in the the subsidiary cup competition, whatever they're going to call it this year. The fact that I think he had a couple of clubs after him, and there was no, from what we understand, that it was a no-brainer. He was signing for Blackpool. He tells us everything we want to know. I'm sure he'll wear his heart on his sleeve when he gets the opportunity, and I suspect that might be more next season than this season. But let's see. You never know.
Nick
seen Dowman play at 15, haven't we?
Yeah. Nick has just prodded me. How can I forget this one? Wasn't on my list. George Honeyman. Nick, I think this is the biggest hitter out of the pack.
Yeah, he's quality, isn't he? And I think he'll be integral to us this season. I said don't want to see him out on the wing, but he's got quality. He's got a great engine, really comfortable on the ball, makes things happen, and it's 100% a hit for me. So
just closing, I think the only positions where we are short now is goalkeeper, maybe a bit of a unit up front, and possibly a new left back. Right, we've got Jimmy coming back as well. Ashworth's decent, doesn't prepare to lose him. So Bruce has got all the tools that he needs now, more or less, and it's now up to him to show us what he can do. He's not doing it at the moment. We've won one game out of the 6, drawn one, lost the rest. Extrapolate over season, that's 37 points over season. 37 points, 0.8 points per game. It's not good enough at the moment. How long will it be? He needs to be given to turn the ship around, because it does need turning around. It's worrying.
It does. I think you probably, I don't know, what would you say, 10, 12 games maybe. I think you just want to be, I want to be able to kind of watch the game and be able to see that there's a decent plan in place, that even if we're maybe not getting the result, you're going, do you know what, keep playing like that and it'll come good. And at the moment, it's all been a little bit disjointed, hasn't it? You've got to mention, Simon Sadler and say, I think everybody pretty much as Bruce has wanted, he's written the checks for. I know we've had obviously money coming in through the sales, but I think we've certainly pushed the budget up, haven't we? We look at Josh Bolo, he's not going to be coming for peanuts, is he? And there's several others who will be on very good money who've come down from the Championship and won't have wanted to drop too much in wages. So, Bruce can't say he hasn't been backed. So he's going to have to get it right probably sooner rather than later, I would say.
I think he's been backed more than any manager under Sadler and any manager I can remember.
I think if you even look back to the Premier League, we still did stuff on the cheap, didn't we? So he can't say that he's been scraping around at the bottom of the barrel. He's got a lot of his, I would imagine, a lot of his top targets. So he needs to. Do
you think these are his targets, or do you think this is just recruitment going on? I don't. It all seems a bit random to me.
You wouldn't have thought Steve Bruce would pick up Josh Bowler, would you, Tim? I bet he doesn't even know who he is.
I don't know. I'm looking around the team. I'm not seeing cohesion that would suggest that it's all pre-planned. It just looks a bit. Oh, he's available, and he's a good player, and they are all good players, and I'm sure that whether it's I'm not sure it's good. I'm not sure Bruce is here for this season. I don't know what it is. Something tells me, and if things don't improve by the end of September, something's going to happen. And I can't see where at the moment. I'm sure. Listen, you put Bowler in there, he can do a bit. We've got Ennis back, which is good, but it's all a bit, because look at the squad. It looks decent, but the performances are abysmal. So I don't know what if you're looking at that and saying we've got the squad, we've got players who've performed at other clubs very, very well. We've got Horsfall, we've got Brown has played extremely well. We've got Honeyman, who's come from top end of Championship. We've got, and to be fair, we've missed Ennis those 3 games.
The worrying thing is, Tim, that every successful team is built on defence. And that's where we're all over the place at the moment. We still are. And to me, that's really worrying, considering Steve Bruce was a top-notch defender. Played for Man United under Alex Ferguson, represented England for a few times, and how can he not sort that?
He didn't represent England. He's famously never got capped.
I thought it was under 21.
He never got capped. Right. But he was probably, he was captain of one of the best teams that the English football's ever seen. To be fair, but I don't see. Defensively, we are huge at the moment, and I've got Imre back now, are hugely weaker than last season. I think if you put our back 4 from last season into these games, I don't think we'll be losing them the way we were. I think we're missing O'Fire massively, and we're missing who was available today. Bay got massively, and I think we're missing Hubby. In truth. So, and the key and Tyra, we're missing Tyra. So we've got 3 or 4 players there who aren't available to us or who've left us, who would all walk into that back 5 at the moment. Literally walk in there with it, with no brainer that they would start.
Okay, any more thoughts on that before we go?
Let's finish on a positive.
Yes.
Northampton predictions quickly. I'm going to go 2-0 Pool.
I'll join you, Nick.
I'll have to have a think about that. I think I can't see us keeping a clean sheet, so I'm not going to go for 2-0, but I do think we are going to win, so I'll go for a narrow 2-1 victory. And I think Josh Bowler's going to score.
Has anyone predicted for it? Yeah, just me. 0-1. I was just looking it up. Yeah, I've predicted 0-1.
Got 2 weeks, yeah.
Sorry, 1-0 to us. Niall Ennis. I think we'll go there and do a job.
It feels a long way away, but yeah, I would have to say that we've got 2 weeks now to learn who each other are. Hopefully, he's got him on a bit of a piss up, a bit of a squad building exercise. Get him like Sam Allardyce, get him to Dubai or something, because we need to learn each other's names and how to play together and come up with a plan. Like Nick said earlier, we don't seem to have a clear, coherent plan where we're thinking, okay, I can see what we're trying to do here, or I can see what options we've got off the bench to change things. It's very much like lack of cohesion and lack of knowledge of what we're actually trying to achieve and how to create a chance, as well as keep a clean sheet at the other end. So, yeah, I think it's done us great that we're not having to play Luton on Saturday, and we've got a couple of weeks now just to have a rest and reset, welcome the new lads in, and we go again. The season starts now, doesn't it, at the end of the day? So, yeah, fingers crossed.
Just going back to the Bolton game, the predictions on our fans predictions league. If you do want to join up, patreon.com/SleeSandersPod. We have got a predictions league going on, which Nick correctly predicted 1-1 for the last game. You got 5 points there, Nick, so well done. Tom, you got the draw right, 3 points. And I got my first 2 points of the season. Tim, you got 2. Raggy's 5-0, got 0. And this is the league table after the first month, which has Eddie flying high. He's got 4 results out of 6 spot on. He got the score dead right for the Bolton game. He's got 21 points. Andy Matthews second, and our very own Nick Smith in 3rd place. And I
forgot to do the Plymouth results, although I would have gone for it. I don't think I'd have gone for a debate. I normally go for a pool win or a draw.
Where are you, Tim?
Oh, miles off.
Oh, me and you on equal 22nd.
We're almost performing as well as Blackpool are this season, aren't we?
We'll be in for a late run like Blackpool.
We will. Give us till end of September, or we might be facing the sack.
Right, I think we'll give it a break there. We're on 118, Nick. Sorry about this. We've overrun, but there was plenty to discuss there. And as Tom said, quite nice to have a break, and we can get a bit of R&R, as can the players, recuperate, and come back to hopefully do something against Northampton. If you do like this video and you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening to our podcast app, give us a thumbs up and whatever in there. And yeah, we'll be coming back in a couple of weeks. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for downloading. If you're listening on audio,
up the pool.
And come on, Josh Bowler. You are electric and back in the room. Let's have a big turnaround. Up the pool.
Up the pool.
Been involved in 2. Can he make 3? Not on this occasion. Well taken by Walsh. Davis is on the far side. Ainscough coming square. That's the ball. That's a good try. What a goal! Oh!